And welcome back to the Murdy Creative Co podcast. I'm your host, Colin Murdy, and today's topic is changing perspectives. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who supported the company so far. If you haven't got a chance, go check us out on the web at Murdy Creative Co. That's M-U-R-D-Y, creative.co. Or you can check us out on social media. All of the links are at the top of the website. Be sure to join our Discord server to get behind-the-scenes access and be able to reach out to us and communicate with us quickly. We do a lot of cool stuff in the Discord, so check that out. All right, so today we got a couple of things to talk about. First things first, one of the things that I have had a changing perspective on is rings and binders. Now, the product of the binders with the rings is maybe not live on the website right now. Probably not. It will be live on the website probably within a few days, and it's going to just show up quietly as an additional hardware option for those who buy the binders, slim cut or wide cut. Now, an important note in all of this, I started this company with the slim cut binder and posts specifically because I did not like the bulk that rings provide to binders. And the answer is I still don't. But there is a functionality that it provides that I think is of value to certain individuals who select that. This was brought to you by Only Murders in the Building, by the way. I noticed in the binders, in the video of their new season, promoting it, that they actually use our binders in the episode, in the show. Now, we've kind of known this for a little while. They had reached out to us a while back. We've been on the Hulu series Reboot, totally unbeknownst to me originally, but I watched the show and I saw it, and I mentioned that in the podcast in the past. But we are going to be in the next season of Only Murders in the Building with our slim cut binders. And we'd worked with them. It was really cool. It was very exciting. But one of the things I noticed when I watched the video with the promo that actually had it on YouTube for the first time was that they use rings in our binders. And at first I watched that and I was like, ugh, what do I do? And then my next thought is frankly, if this is how these people are using it, I probably should sell it that way because that's how they're using it. And there's a certain value in selling the thing that your customer wants. So anyway, without further ado, we will be selling the slim cut binder with 1 1/4 inch rings. Now these are a very usual ring. There's nothing particularly special about them, I will admit. And for those of you who have previously bought our product and would like to buy rings for them, knowing that we have this now, I would be happy to point you in the direction you can do so. They're available on Amazon, as well as we'll probably offer them on our website. The rings themselves are 1 1/4 inch specifically because we've found that that is the best option with the binder spines. It allows for the pages to lay relatively flat for the purposes of reading and writing on both sides of the paper. It allows for them to be turned easily, which is great, and it's really a good fit for the script world of Hollywood that we've kind of been appealing to. It can hold up to the original 200 pages that the binders have always been able to hold, so that's good news. And for the most part, it's a relatively modest change. Now, personally, this is a bit of a conciliation on my part. I really don't like the rings as a concept, but I understand that they are something that customers want and need, and I'm happy to help provide them in that regard. That being said, we obviously will still be selling them with the posts. I still think that they look great with the posts, and frankly, to be honest, we'll see how it goes, right? Times are a-changing. Now, this is one of my changing perspectives on some of these things, and a certain level of growth and attitude of all of these. You know, you need to be able to adapt your personality when it comes to your perspectives on certain things. And I've always had a very ardent attitude towards this, but at the same time, maybe it's time to change. With that in mind, one of the things I wanted to talk about as a changing perspective is my attitude towards the world that we live in, where we are surrounded by garbage. And I have talked about this in a previous podcast, and I've talked about AI in a previous podcast, and we're going to see how they actually kind of work together in this next little bit here. One thing that has come up is my wife and I are reading through the book of Proverbs, and one of the things that continues to come up over and over and over in the book of Proverbs is the issue of consuming too much, the issue of eating too much honey and you make yourself sick. And in fact, the specific chapter and verse that was, or the ones that we were reading yesterday that talks about this was in chapter 25. And it talks about eating honey to the point where you vomit. And one of the things that I kind of stopped and was pausing, I was talking about this with Leah, is I said, a good thing is a good thing, but too much of a good thing is not. And that's a thing that we all know. And we have been so convinced in our world today that you need to consume and consume and consume. You need to buy as much as you possibly can, get the biggest house, the fastest car, the most toys. And I think that's wrong. I think that's a perspective that we have been, that's a bill of goods that we have been sold. And I don't think it's a good way to live life. In fact, I think we become trapped by our possessions. And as I was thinking about this with Lee and we were talking about it, I realized I was looking around my room and thinking about all of the things that I'm surrounded by that are just garbage. And it goes back to the thing I talked about with quality, right? I am surrounded by 100,000 little pieces of garbage when I should be surrounded by 10 pieces of quality. And for us, we obviously are committed to making those things of quality. But I also need to be committed to getting rid of the things in my life that are garbage because it's dragging me down mentally, physically. It's something that I'm just surrounded by all of this stuff all the time, and it's exhausting. And Tolkien talks about this when he talks about the Lord of the Rings. He always kind of puts the hobbits and the Shire in a certain type of light where their problems, their ills are almost comical in light of the greater world. The infighting between the families of the hobbits is the greatest bad thing that's happening in the Shire. But when you think about Mordor and Saruman and all of these other things, it pales in comparison. And there's an interesting point that Tolkien, I think, is making in some of those, which is that a simpler life, a pastoral life, a life where you are not a slave to the consumption of products all over the time, and you spend all your time in the world where you are making your own. That's a world where the ills, the evils, are more simple, more fundamental. Doesn't mean they're not serious, but that means they're more fundamental. Whereas the world of the consumerist life that we have lived, the world of the interworld of technology and all of these things, has created evils that are shocking in their scope. And I was thinking about this because how does this tie into AI, you might ask? I was thinking about AI, and one of the facts that we are going to be facing here in the next 10 years, which is that AI is going to put probably a third of the nation's workforce out of jobs. I mean, realistically. Even the explosion of AI in the last 2 years and its capabilities has dwarfed what anybody expected. And I think it's going to be very challenging. I think that we are going to see things we haven't seen since the Great Depression. I mean, in the Great Depression, 25% of the workforce couldn't find jobs. But if you look at the top 10 jobs, and this is something that CGP Grey, I think is the name of the YouTuber. I'll link the video in my description. He talks about this issue 10 years ago. He put a video together 10 years ago about AI and what it would do. And he talks about how we've had technological innovations in the past, but they've been tools that have allowed people to do more. This AI tool allows fewer people to do more, and a lot of people will be left without jobs. And it's going to be people that don't like being without jobs. It's going to be people that are not probably perhaps suited for a competitive job market. And I think it's going to really be a strain on them. A lot of creative jobs might see themselves disappear. Copywriting. And I'm not saying that there won't be people who do copywriting, and there won't be people who write screenplays. There won't be people who write scripts. I'm saying that what will end up happening is one person will end up reading, reviewing, and rewriting the work that the AI puts out, rather than 10 people. I think you're going to start to see a significant decline in the medical industry even, right? Now, obviously we will need doctors. Obviously we will need nurses. That won't go anywhere. But what each one of those doctors can do augmented by AI, what each one of those nurses can do augmented by AI, will allow for significantly fewer people. And as we see the rising cost of labor in that realm, amongst others, and amongst every realm, it seems like labor is getting more expensive. As we see that rise, the AI will become far, far more valuable to employers because they'll realize that they can pay a decent amount for good AI, but it's a lot less than paying for 15 doctors and 25 nurses. So you're going to see a large group of population, I think, going to be out of jobs. It's funny because there's a couple of opportunities that could arise out of this. One, we could bring domestic manufacturing back. For example, the work we do here at the Murdy Creative Company, where we take a raw good in its raw form and make a final good that is a beautiful quality product, that probably won't be able to be replaced with AI. In fact, hard types of manufacturing, blue collar work in that regard, will probably be strong. Obviously, robots can do some things, but realistically speaking, the complexity of the human biological system allows for us to be a better general purpose robot than most other robots could ever dream of being at this time. The human mind, obviously, we've been able to replicate to some extent in AI in ways that are digital. We can have computers think in a digital space, but physically making something with their quote unquote hands is more challenging. In fact, most robots that are actually useful are extraordinarily specific in what they're useful at. A robot that builds a car cannot do anything but building that car. In fact, most robots that build cars can't do anything but put that specific weld in that specific spot without an enormous amount of effort on programming parts. So for us, manufacturing, I think, will be something that will continue to be strong. And perhaps with a large population that is out of work, it will allow for manufacturing to come back to the country in force because there will be a large, ample job market. Now, that obviously requires people who perhaps were previously copywriters to become line workers, and they may not want to do that, and fair enough, that's a whole thing. But the labor pool will potentially be there. Another thing, though, that I think will be aside of this will be the rise that we have already begun to see out of COVID in the world of homesteading. In fact, I think you will be surprised to see how many people will opt for a simpler pastoral life where they farm their own land and they eat what they farm and they grow animals and they sell the product of those animals, and a world of subsistence agrarian farming returns as part of the next generation, because those people will have very limited options to find other work. And so I think you'll see a rise of that. Now, it's funny because the groundwork of that was laid in COVID because people began to realize how unstable the global economy is from a shipping and logistics standpoint, right? And people began to realize that the fundamentals of food and clothing and things like that come from other places, far away in some cases. And so they need to be able to have the self-reliance to be able to make some of those things. This is in many ways leading to a rediscovery of technology that we have lost in many ways. Manufacturing textiles used to be a very important part of this country. That is no longer the case. Manufacturing of textiles, in fact, doesn't happen really at all in the US, but it could, and maybe it'll come back as more and more people realize that they won't be able to find jobs in anything but manufacturing, and if they're not comfortable doing that, then they might have to find jobs elsewhere. We'll also see a rise on the people who are on unemployment and who take government subsistence or government assistance, and that will be a thing that will also change the economic landscape a little bit and will be a challenging macroeconomic element of all of this very complex picture. But it's interesting to see where this might lie. I am hoping that we as a culture, we as a group of individuals are able to double down on quality as quantity becomes more and more untenable. I'm hoping we as individuals can say, we will develop our own self-reliance. We will make our own things. We will become the kind of people who can support themselves rather than being so specialized and reliant on jobs that are difficult to maintain in a world where AI owns and dominates enormous parts of the market. And I think it's important for me to mention that I'm not wishing AI to put people out of jobs. I'm not wishing for that. I'm not hoping for that. I'm just seeing that come. And as someone who has to make a lot of hard decisions as a business owner, I understand that sometimes the people in these positions making these decisions, they don't have a lot of choices. In fact, they don't have many times a choice at all, because it's either lose the business or make strong cuts. And as the world gets more and more competitive, as the job market gets more and more competitive, as labor becomes more and more expensive, these decisions get more and more narrow in what you have. The wiggle room you have becomes far, far less. So, my hope is this. My hope is that we as a society can realize that quality is more important than quantity in our own personal lives. That we should have fewer articles of clothing that are better quality. And we should have fewer articles of clothing that are made from people domestically, that are made locally, that are made by people who are artisans, who love their craft and take pride in their work. I'm hoping that we can be the kind of people who buy our furniture from local people. We can buy our food staples from local people. And we can get to the point where there is, in many ways, microeconomies that allow for individuals who may have been put out of work by the AI revolution to find meaningful work and to work hard at work worth doing, because that's important. And I hope we can deprogram our brains from the decades, in some cases, of training that more is better. Because I don't think it is. I'm certainly realizing that. I'm certainly having that as a changing perspective in my life. And it's kind of a bit of an uncomfortable adjustment because I find myself occasionally slipping back into the, ooh, look at that shiny thing, I want that. Rather than, and I have to kind of take myself back and say, no, is that something that I'm actually going to have 10 years from now? Is that something I'm going to have 20 years from now? Is that something that I'm going to want to have 20 years from now? Which is a different question, by the way. And it's tricky. It's difficult. But we have to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally for the changes that are to come. Because for those of you who went and saw Oppenheimer over this last weekend, that innovation, that revolution changed the world and brought on enormous change. And AI is going to do the same. And we right now are living right on the verge of the end of the pre-atomic age. AI has already started to percolate the market. It's already starting to do things. And I, as a small business owner with relatively limited resources, can right now go and have an entire website built by AI. I can have an entire marketing plan built by AI. I can have copyright. I can have scripts. I can have all of this stuff written out by AI. Is it good? Some of it. In fact, most of it is. I've actually been pretty impressed with what it's able to do. Now, obviously, as the human, I look through it and go, that's not right. I got to change that, or that's a little different. But that eliminated a lot of people in that process. And I don't have that much resources. Imagine what will happen when more and more of these incredibly large companies who have a lot of dollars to spend realize that they can eliminate half of their workforce by bringing on AI. That's going to be a big problem. So we should prepare for it. We as individuals need to prepare for it. And for those of you who are out there who are thinking that this is a message that I am telling you that is a message of despair, of doom and gloom, I actually think it's the exact opposite. Your job is not secure. Go and make yourself self-reliant. Go enjoy the simple things in life. And go enjoy the fact that your worth is not found in your job. Your worth is not found in your things. Your worth is found in who created you and what you were made to do. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Be sure to check back in next Thursday for the next topic, and don't forget to check that subscribe button as well as the notification bell to get notified every time we launch a new episode. If you have any questions or concerns about your leather binder, journal, folio, anything else we sell, please feel free to reach out to us on the main page of our website at Murdy Creative Co. We're happy to help, and we want to help. So please feel free to reach out to us. You can send us an email, sales@murdycreative.co, sales@murdycreative.co. You can give us a phone call, 414-434-9001. We're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. You can also text that number as well, 414-434-9001. We love to help. We want to answer questions. If you have any questions at all, reach out to us. If for whatever reason we don't answer the phone, please leave us a voicemail. We do call people back, and we want to help. Sometimes we just happen to be away from the phone lines. If, for whatever reason, you think that there is an issue that you have that deserves more urgent attention, I would recommend giving us a phone call. That is the best way to reach us in a hurry. And so, for example, if you've got a time-sensitive matter, a deadline, give us a phone call. We do want to talk to you. We're real people. If you think we deserve it, a good review can go a long way to help us grow, both a review on whatever podcast app you're listening on, as well as a review on the product if you have one. Go to murdycreative.co/review to read all or to leave a review. That leaves it, right now it goes to Google, but it could go to a lot of different places depending on where we want that URL redirect to go. We specifically are having it go to Google right now because it helps our SEO. We previously had it go to Facebook, so you can read more reviews on Facebook there. If you want to read all of the other reviews, you go to murdycreative.co/reviews, and that will take you to the reviews page on our website where you can read some of our amazing reviews. We'd love to hear from you. We love the feedback. It really does help us. And for those of you who leave positive reviews, thank you from the bottom of my heart. For those of you who leave negative reviews, thank you too. That actually helps us. Feedback like that tells us what we need to change, what we need to improve, and we are dedicated to improving. So please definitely reach out to us if you have questions, if you want to leave feedback. Otherwise, go check out the reviews page. Word of mouth is the best form of advertising, so tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies. You get a little something for doing that by checking out the rewards tab in the bottom left-hand corner of the main page of the website. We have reward points. The reward points for many people will be expiring in August. They have a time limit on them. There's about 6 months that you can use them. So be sure to check in on your rewards status if you haven't. In that rewards tab, it will tell you when your points are expiring. So go check out, redeem those, get something new for yourself at a little bit of a discount. It's a great way to do that. If you have podcast topics you want to hear more about, send them my way. I'm always looking for things to talk about, so definitely reach out. Send us an email. You can leave us a comment below on YouTube. You can send us a message in Discord. There's a lot of ways to get a hold of us, so definitely tell me if you want to hear something. If you're looking for multiple binders, journals, folios, anything we sell for gifts, giveaways, menus, really any reason, we have bulk discounts built directly into the cart. All you need to do is add everything to your cart that you want, mix and match to your heart's desire. It's purely based off the total cart quantity. So no need to worry about getting X number of this and Y number of this to be able to meet the qualifications. It's just based off the total cart quantity of eligible items. And you'll be able to see that discount live in your cart now. We've actually updated the website a little bit. So as you add things, you'll be able to see that the discount and change and improve in your cart in real time. The minimum order quantity to get the first tier of discount is 5 items. So it's not that many. So go check that out. We want to make this something people can do. If you're looking for custom engraved items, we have no minimum order quantities and no setup fees. It's a simple flat fee, normally about $15. And you can check that out by going to any of the product pages. On the product pages, they have a blue button that says Add Custom Engraving. You click on that. Right now, the new update to the website allows for you to click that button. It'll take you directly to the customizable version of that product. So no longer do you need to go to a second product page. On the main product page, if you click that button, it'll open up the customizer right then and there. However, an important note, please click on the product variants button. It's a exclamation point surrounded by a circle. Product variants, and select there in the customizer what color, what insert, what bolt set you want specifically there. It does not read what selections you might have made previously. We're still working on that. We'll see how we can pull it off. That being said, go check that out. Add that custom engraving. You can upload images, text, designs. You can mix and match, and then you hit add to cart. That'll add it to your cart, and you can change the quantity there. So if you're going to get a whole bunch, you can do that right there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great day, and goodbye.